Gobsmacking bananas. Weather models predict polar vortex invasion into the United States. It's also happening in Europe. It's stretching over the North Pole from the United States, Canada into Europe. While it's still uncertain, weather models suggest that a polar vortex might plunge large swaths of the lower 48 into dangerously cold temperatures sometime late next week, and there's been a lot of speculation on social media about the incoming polar vortex. It's now official that the Arctic has predicted a massive cool down next week. Weather watchers and meteorologists point out that an ongoing stratospheric warming event could displace the polar vortex from the pole and pour cold air into the lower 48. It's not just ex-users chatting away about a potential polar vortex. Bloomberg data shows headlines across corporate media with polar vortex have spiked in the last 2 weeks, and we overlaid the headline data that natural gas futures, in which prices are rising, an indication traders could be pricing in a cold snap premium. New weather outlooks from the National Weather Service NOAA Climate Prediction Center show a cold blast arriving late next week for central and eastern parts of the United States. And longer-term outlooks show more cold in a store after the midpoint of the month. And a new weather note from John Baranek, meteorologist for DTN, provided more details about the incoming cold blast for the lower 48. He said those of us in the US and Canada have had short bursts of colder air, but nothing that would be labeled as Arctic just yet, and that will be changing early next week as an arm of the polar vortex is pinched off the North Pole. It settles into Western Canada by January 9. Two upper-level ridges, one in Alaska, another one in North Atlantic, will do the pinching, and we've not had a dramatic ridge in either location to start the winter. This is a primary reason why we have yet to see a polar vortex event take place. But even the polar vortex starting to develop in Western Canada, it will take another day or two for it to pull down the air from the North Pole, with those Arctic cold anomalies below normal starting to show up in December 10th, Northwest Canada. The cold will expand, I think it was meant to say January 10. The cold will expand south and east from there into the U.S. during the following couple of days as a southern jet stream causes a few storms systems to move through the Pacific Northwest and Northwest Plains January 10 to 12. The extent and depth of the cold air are currently in question as of January 5th, and model forecasts suggest that a ridge in the southeast may be able to contain that cold air into the western half of the U.S. and Canada, at least the harshest of the cold, and that would mean from the Canadian prairies down to the Texas Panhandle up to Missouri and Minnesota will be the areas east of the Rockies to be put into the icebox for an extended period of time. And again, models are still working out how cold it may be, and some of that depends on the recent and forecast snow cover. A system that goes through the plains and Midwest early in the next week could lead to some very low temperatures readings over the snowpack when the Arctic air comes in. Meanwhile, the incoming cold snap reminds us of the multi-billion-dollar weather disaster that paralyzed Texas power grid for over a week, February 2021. Michael Chembalist, chairman of market and investment strategy for JP Morgan Asset, recently published a note reminding clients about power grid instabilities across the United States. Due to retirement of dispatchable power generators, nuclear and coal and gas, and underinvestment in pipelines, gas storage, and winterization, major U.S. cities will face electricity outages and/or natural gas outages, which are much worse. The North American Electricity Reliability Association just released its 2023 risk assessment. The region NERC highlights as having the greatest risk of power outages even in normal peak conditions. Midwest, which stretches from Minnesota down to lower Louisiana, outage risks in more extreme weather conditions is cited for New York City, New England, and the entire western U.S. and ERC cities, peak loads rising at an alarming rate due to electrification coinciding with increasing intermittent new sources of generation, wind and solar power. Now, reserve margins indicate that the buffer each region has to a spike in summer demand. The chart on the chart summarizing assessment of future reserve margins. Note as well how unplanned outages have been rising during cold weather storms. So if we think that power outages are bad, natural gas outages would be far worse. During winter storms, Elliott in December 2022, cold weather resulted in the failure of gas production wellheads, pipelines, and distribution. Dry gas production in the lower 48 states fell by 16%, with Marcellus and Utica production falling 23% to 54%. On December 25th, interstate natural gas pipelines serving Con Edison experienced drops in pressure due to production losses and operational issues. Con Ed restored pressure from a backup LNG system until system-wide pressure was normalized and ended up narrowly avoiding a gas system outage. During a gas outage, local gas distribution companies would need to go building by building and shut off gas valves to ensure that residual gas does not seep through units whose pilot lights are out. During the system restoration process, the main distribution system would be purged. Then workers would have to ensure at each point of service that heating and cooking gas lines are safely purged and operational before restoring service and relighting pilot lights. Any home or buildings with safety issues would need remediation before any gas restoration. Even losing service to 130,000 customers would be considered a major outage and could have taken 5 to 7 weeks to restore. 5 to 7 weeks, can you imagine? A large outage could also cause extensive property damage due to burst water pipes within homes and buildings, since water expansion expands when it freezes. So all eyes are on the incoming cold blast and possible grid strain issues due to high heating demand. And this is on Zero Hedge. This is what's coming to us in the next few days in the United States. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.